So, Cinemachine, what is it and what does it do? Cinemachine is a Unity asset that quickly and easily creates high functioning camera controllers without the need, but with the option, to write custom code. In just a matter of minutes, you can add Cinemachine to your project, drop in the needed prefabs and components, and you'll have a functioning 2D or 3D camera. And yes, it really is that simple. But if you're like me, you may have just fumbled your way through using Cinemachine and never truly dug into all of what it can do, how it works, or the real capabilities of the asset. And that leaves a lot of functionality potentially undiscovered and unused. This tutorial is going to be a bit different. Where many other tutorials cover the flashy bits or just a particular camera type, this video will attempt to be a brief overview of all the features that Cinemachine has to offer. Alright, so how do you get Cinemachine? Well, as I remember it, Cinemachine used to be a paid asset on the asset store, and it was one of the first that Unity purchased to make free for all of its users. Nowadays, it just takes a few clicks, and albeit with a bit of patience with the Unity package manager, to add Cinemachine to your project. The next step is to add a Cinemachine brain to your Unity camera. The brain must be on the same object as the Unity camera component, since it functions as the communication link between the Unity camera and any of the Cinemachine virtual cameras that are in the scene. The brain also controls the cut or blend from one virtual camera to another. Additionally, the brain is also capable of firing events when the shot changes, such as when a virtual camera goes live, which can be particularly useful for trailers and cutscenes. Cinemachine does not add more camera components to your scene, but instead makes use of so-called virtual cameras. These virtual cameras control the position and rotation of the Unity camera. So I like to think of a virtual camera as a camera controller, not an actual camera component. Now there are several types of virtual cameras, each with a different purpose and a different use. It's also possible to program your own virtual camera or extend one of the existing virtual camera types. For most of us, the stock virtual camera should be just fine and do everything we need with just a bit of tweaking and fine-tuning in the inspector. Cinemachine also offers several prefabs or presets for your virtual camera objects. You can find all of them in the Cinemachine menu. Or, if you prefer, you can always build up your own by adding components to game objects in the same way everything else in Unity gets put together. As I did my research for this video, I was surprised at the breadth of functionality that Cinemachine provides. So at the risk of being boring, let's quickly walk through the functionality of each Cinemachine prefab. The virtual camera prefab is the bare bones base virtual camera component slapped onto a game object with no significant default values. Other virtual cameras use this component or extend it, but with different presets or default values to create specific functionality. The FreeLook camera provides an out-of-the-box and ready-to-go third-person camera. Its most notable feature is the rigs that control and adjust where the camera is allowed to go relative to the player character. Now, if you're itching to build a third-person character controller, check out my earlier video that used the new input system in Cinemachine. The 2D camera is pretty much what it sounds like and is the virtual camera to use for typical 2D games. Settings like soft zone, dead zone, and look ahead time are really easy to dial in and get a good feeling camera really quickly. And I definitely want to look at the 2D camera in more depth in a future video. The Dolly camera will follow along a track that can be easily created in the scene view. You can also add a cart component to any object, and then just like the Dolly camera, the cart will follow a track. These can be useful to create moving objects, the cart, or move a Dolly camera through a scene on a set path. Once again, great for cutscenes or footage for a trailer. The next several prefabs are what I would call composite cameras, and the word composite is my word. I couldn't find a term used by Cinemachine documentation, so I just made up my own. These prefabs use a controlling script for multiple cameras and don't function the same as a single virtual camera. Instead, they're a composite of different objects and multiple different virtual cameras. The blendless camera allows you to create a list of cameras and blend from one camera to another after a set amount of time. Super powerful and really handy for recording footage for a trailer. The state-driven camera is designed to blend between cameras based on the state of an animator. So when an animator transitions from, say, running to idle, you might switch to a different virtual camera that has different settings for damping or a different look ahead time. Talk about adding some nice polish to your game. The ClearShot camera can be used to set up multiple cameras and then have Cinemachine choose the camera that has the best shot of the target. This could be useful in complex scenes with moving objects to ensure the target is always seen or at least seen the best that it can be. This has similar functionality to the blendless camera, but doesn't need to have timings hard-coded into it. Now, I found this camera a bit more difficult to set up, but still far easier than trying to create my own system. The target group camera component can act as a look at target for a virtual camera. This component ensures that a list of transforms assigned on the target group camera component stays in view by moving the camera and changing the field of view accordingly. The mixing camera is used to set the position and rotation of a Unity camera based on the weights of its children's cameras. This can be used in combination with animating the weights of the virtual cameras to move the Unity camera through the scene. I think of this as creating a bunch of waypoints and then lerping from one to the next. It's not exactly that, but there's at least some similarities. Also, other properties besides position and rotation are also mixed, making it particularly powerful. There are a few settings that are shared between all or most of the virtual cameras, and the cameras that don't share very many settings fall into the composite camera category, and have children cameras that do share these settings. So let's dive into those shared settings to get a better idea of what they do, and most importantly, what we can do with Cinemachine. The status line I find a bit odd. It shows whether the camera is live, in standby, or disabled, which is straightforward enough. But the solo button next to the status feels like an odd fit to me. Clicking this button will immediately give visual feedback from the particular camera, i.e. treating this camera as if it is the only or solo camera in the scene. If you were working on a complex cutscene with multiple cameras, I can see this feature being particularly useful. The follow target is the transform for the virtual object the virtual camera will move with or will attempt to follow based on the algorithm chosen. This is not required for the composite cameras, but all the virtual cameras will need a follow target. The look at target is the transform of the object that the virtual camera will aim at or will try to keep in view. Often this is the same as the follow target, but not always. The lens gives access to the lens settings on the Unity camera component. This can allow you to change those settings per virtual camera. This also includes a Dutch setting that allows rotation of a camera on the Z-axis, a setting not built into the Unity camera component. The body controls how the camera moves, and this is where we really start customizing the behavior of the camera. The first slot on the body sets the algorithm that will be used to move the camera. The algorithm chosen will dictate what further settings are available. Now, it's worth noting that each algorithm selected in the body works alongside the algorithm selected in the aim settings, which we'll talk about next. Since these two algorithms work together, no one algorithm will define or create complete behavior. The transposer moves the camera in a fixed relationship to the follow target, as well as applies an offset in damping that movement. Pretty simple and pretty straightforward. The framing transposer moves the camera in a fixed screen space relationship to the follow target. This is commonly used for 2D cameras. This algorithm has a range of settings to allow you to fine-tune the feel. The orbital transposer moves the camera in a variable relationship to the follow target, but attempts to align its view with the direction of the motion of the follow target. This is used in the free look camera for third-person characters. And I could also imagine this being used for an RTS style camera where the follow target is an empty object moving around the scene. The track dolly is used to follow a predefined path, the dolly track. Pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use, and really helpful for the right situation. The hard lock to target simply sticks the camera at the same position as the follow target. This has the same effect as setting a camera as a child object, but with the added benefit of being a virtual camera, not an actual Unity camera component that has to be managed. The do nothing transposer doesn't move the camera with the follow target. This could be useful for a camera that shouldn't move or should be fixed to another object but might still need to aim or look at a target. Maybe for something like a security style camera that is fixed to the side of a building, but still might need to rotate and follow the target. The aim controls where the camera is pointed and is determined by which algorithm is used. The composer works to keep the look at target in the camera frame. Once again, there is a wide range of settings to fine tune the behavior. These include look ahead time, damping, dead zone, and soft zone settings. The group composer works just like the composer unless the look at target is a Cinemachine target group. In that case, the field of view and distance will adjust to keep the targets all in view. The POV rotates the camera based on user input, and this allows mouse control in an FPS style. The same as follow target does exactly as it says, which is to set the rotation of the virtual camera to the rotation of the follow target. The hard look at keeps the look at target in the center of the camera frame with not much for fine tuning of that feel. The do nothing? Yep, this does nothing. While this sounds like an odd design choice, this is used with the 2D camera preset as no rotation or aiming is needed. The noise settings allow the virtual camera to simulate camera shake. There are built-in presets, and if they don't do the trick, you can also create your own. There's a lot of functionality here, but it doesn't stop there. Cinemachine provides several out-of-the-box extensions that can add additional functionality to your virtual cameras. The Cinemachine camera offset applies an offset to the camera. The offset can be applied after the body, aim, noise, or after the final processing is done. Cinemachine Recomposer adds a final adjustment to the composition of the camera shot. This is intended to be used with the timeline to make manual adjustments to procedural shots. The Cinemachine third-person aim cancels out any rotational noise and forces a hard look at the target point. This is a bit more sophisticated than a simple hard look at, as target objects can be filtered by layer and tags can be ignored. Also, if an aiming reticle, I think that's how you pronounce that, is used, the extension will raycast to a target and move the reticle over the object to indicate that the object is targeted or would be hit if a shot was to be fired. I think this extension sounds amazing, but I think there's also a lot to unravel and figure out. Maybe we'll do that in a future video. The Cinemachine Collider adjusts the final position of the camera to attempt to preserve the line of sight to the look at target. This is done by moving the camera away from game objects that obstruct the view. The objects are defined by layers and by tags. You can also choose a strategy for moving the camera when an obstacle is encountered. Now, while this is not perfect, it does help reduce camera clipping when moving through a complex scene. Cinemachine Confiner prevents the camera from moving outside of a collider. This works both in 2D and 3D projects. It's a great way to prevent the player from seeing the edge of the world or seeing something that they shouldn't see. Cinemachine Follow Zoom adjusts the field of view of the camera to keep the target the same size on the screen no matter the camera or the target position. Cinemachine Storyboards allow the artists and designers to add images over the top of a camera view. This can be useful for composing scenes and helpful to visualize what a scene might look like. Cinemachine Impulse listeners work together with impulse sources to shake the camera. This can be thought of as a real-world camera that is not 100% solid and has some shake. A source could be set on a character's feet and emit an impulse whenever the feet hit the ground. The camera will then react to that impulse. Cinemachine Post-Processing allows a post-processing, version 2, profile to be attached to a virtual camera, which lets each virtual camera have its own style and character. All the Cinemachine extensions extend the class Cinemachine Extension, leaving the door open for developers to create their own extensions if needed. In addition, all existing extensions can also be modified. So in conclusion, Cinemachine is nothing short of amazing and a fantastic tool to speed up the development of your game. If you're not using it, I think you should be. Even if it doesn't provide the perfect solution that ships with your project, it provides a great starting point for quick prototyping. So there you go. I hope that was interesting and better yet useful for you and your project. And until next time, happy game designing.